What is up, everybody? Welcome to the newest episode of the Debate Mates. I'm still Matthew Swanberg, and you're still Nathan Poplin?
As far as I know, yeah.
Okay, and he's still Nathan Poplin.
Hey, guys.
And like I said, we are still the Debate Mates, and we are still in the off season of the NBA right now. We're a little less than a month away from the start of the 76th NBA season. Some very exciting stuff coming up on the horizon. Before we get into our video today, which we got a fun video for you, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Follow us on Instagram at the Debate Mates. And today, like I said, you're going to want to share this one out with your friends because we got a good one for you. NBA playoff seeding predictions 1 through 10 from the play in to the 1 seed. Mm-hmm. We're doing West and we're doing East. Depending on how long we take with West, which we're starting with, this might be broken up into 2 videos. But so it can't be broken up into 2 videos. Enough with the introduction. Let's get going. Nathan, who is your 10th seed in the Western Conference?
In the Western Conference, my 10th seed is the Sacramento Kings. I know, big shocker, but actually, when you truly look at it and we really look at it, it's not that much of a shocker because they've been building quietly a nice, solid, young roster. I mean, at the additions of Malik Monk is huge to me. I loved what he did for LA. He was one of the few bright spots for the Lakers last year. You get Kevin Huerter, which I think at the time we thought was really weird, but it's solid. And you draft Keegan Murray.
I love Kevin Huerter.
Yeah, Kevin Huerter. Kevin Huerter is him, bro. But no, and then you draft Keegan Murray, who is projected to be the best small forward in this class, and I mean summer league MVP. Man looked absolutely fantastic this year.
Right.
And along with De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis is still solid, you know. So I don't know, like I couldn't put them really any higher than 10, but when I really looked at who was left, Thunder, Rockets, you know, I just didn't have it in my heart to put it above them. Blazers were right there, but I gave the edge to the Kings because I like their situation a little bit better right now.
I gave the edge to the Blazers. And I had a tough – I want to say I typed out on my notes Kings first, and then I deleted them and put the Blazers after because I was looking at depth charts, just comparing, and then it's hard to get bet against Damian Lillard because he's obviously going to be the best player either of these teams have. Mm-hmm. And I think the infrastructure with Portland is a little bit better. I like Jeremy Grant. I like his fit with Dame. I like Ant Simons. He had a really good season last year. A lot of people were thinking he was going to be included in trade talks. Mm-hmm. I mean, not included in trade talks, but he was going to be someone they built around if Damian Lillard did get traded, like for Ben Simmons. Josh Hart brings it on defense. He's going to hustle. Nurkic is injury prone, but when he's healthy, he's a good center. Gary Payton II
is back with the Blazers.
I love his defense. He was a huge part of the championship run for the Warriors last year. It gets a little bad, frankly, after that.
Yeah.
Guys like Shadon Sharp, Nasir Little, who's never been able to really find a place in the league.
That one always, the Zion stopper, I really thought he might. And I remember at the time thinking that was a huge deal. They got him at like 22 or something.
Yeah,
and
I thought he was going to be like the starting small forward his rookie year, and he's not amounted to really much of anything yet.
And Shadon Sharp, like, I don't know what I saw in Summer League, I wasn't a fan of. Maybe that's why I also nudged the Kings over him. People seem to be really high on him, though, so I'm not going to discredit him quite yet. It wouldn't be fair.
Yeah, I'm counting on Dame to have a good bounce back season. They were 27-55 last year, again, mostly without Dame, and he'd been having that ab injury even when he was playing. So I think they're going to bump it up a little bit and sneak in at the 10 seed. And now on to our 9 seed, who I believe we both have the same team here. Mm-hmm. Coach Stretch, cover your ears. We got the Los Angeles Lakers as our 9 seed. Nate, why do you have them only at the 9? I think some people have them a lot higher, and I think a lot of people have them a lot lower too.
Well, like I'm still not super high on them, and as I was last year, I don't think I know I wasn't super high. I didn't even have them making anything, and I was correct. But,
let's go.
I was correct, but I think when. With the trades Utah make, Utah falls back and like there's a spot open. And I also am a believer that AD has a resurgent season. I know you're not as much. Losing Malik Monk sucks, but like when I was really looking, like I mean LeBron, AD, Westbrook still have the potential to get into the play-in. I mean it was Utah. Utah is completely out of it now, and there was one other team that made the playoffs last year, the Spurs.
Right,
but after the DeJounte Murray trade, I don't foresee the Spurs making any big splashes with Jakob Poeltl and Keldon Johnson at the helm, you know. So or Devin Vassell, you know, I just don't see that team even making the play-in. So naturally, I think when I was looking at the team, they still had enough star power to push them into play-in team rather.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, LeBron is still LeBron. Mm-hmm. It's hard to bet on him to play a full season. Same with Westbrook, same with Davis, but the games you get from them, I think, should be enough, especially in a Western Conference that's going to be kind of weak after you get through the top 8.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Damian Jones is going to be interesting. This is going to be his first real season as a starter. Anthony Davis still refusing to play
Thomas
the floor.
Bryant is one I'm interested to
Thomas
see
Bryant,
too.
Pat Bev, that
Pat
could
Bev
go
too.
one of many ways.
I'm just
Dennis,
interested to see him and Russ. Like
yeah,
it looks like it's all like peaches and cream right now, but I doubt it's going to be like that when if Russ starts struggling again.
they're still lacking a lot of shooting. Westbrook's still
Mm-hmm.
not much of a shooter. Anthony Davis is claiming that he went through a wrist injury all of last year, which made him the worst 3-point shooter of his entire career.
I think he does have a resurgence. He's not going to shoot 19% from three.
Yeah,
I can promise that. Also, Westbrook towards the back end of last year kind of looked like he was starting to get kind of a groove. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. He's like a solid player this season. I mean,
yeah.
he's still going to average solid numbers.
I still
no matter
believe
what.
in Russ.
Yeah.
I don't think he's completely washed yet. I just think this roster is really poorly constructed. I
Yeah.
think, like we've said before, LeBron is a player you have to build a roster around, and Westbrook's a player you have to build a roster around. And it's hard to build. They have to have all four players on the court with them be players they can play with. And when you have LeBron and Russ together, they butt heads. Their playing styles are too similar. Lonnie Walker off the bench is an interesting one.
That's one I forgot about.
He's
too,
never
Lonnie
really
Walker.
reached his peak with the Spurs, but maybe this is his peak. Dennis Schroeder was going crazy in FIBA basket, so we'll see what he can do in the NBA.
One thing I just gotta say, it's like I was reading a post that said like DeMar DeRozan, or the deal was almost done, and they went and got Russ. I still think DeMar would have been a better fit on this team than Russ. Russ was, just saying in hindsight, looking back on it. But yeah, I think we both agree that they're still talented enough, even with their poorly constructed roster, to make a play-in seed, especially given who's left. You know, out of the other 7 teams once you get past the 8th seed. So I mean, you know, Lakers at 9.
Yep, Lakers at 9, and he got at 8.
8, I have the Minnesota Timberwolves, who I mean, got Rudy Gobert, one of the most surprising trades of the entire offseason.
Right.
Absolutely wild. Didn't think that they had Cat, so no one expected that. But now that Twin Towers 2.0, which I mean is kind of similar, but kind of not, because Cat can't play defense. But to the original Twin Towers, it's not nearly the same. But that man's going to give. That's one of the best rim protectors in the league. I know you're fairly high on Gobert.
Yep.
And I think you like. Did you like
watch
the
our top
fit?
25 video in the NBA? I had Rudy Gobert pretty high up there, but not a science.
I mean, you should have already seen it. You should have seen all of it.
Well,
anyway.
But if you haven't,
go back and watch them. Come on,
then come back to it.
Come back to this one. But the only thing I'm kind of I had them at 8 a little bit because like I still think they gave up so much depth. They gave up quite a bit of depth with Malik Beasley, and the couple. I think they gave up what it was about 5 players, about 4 first, which is absolutely huge. Destroyed the trade market.
Yeah,
like for Rudy Gobert, it's like, well, what? No wonder the KD deal didn't get done. And we're like, they saw that and they were like, well, we want 7 first and 8 players, you know, like we want the whole franchise for KD. So the market's gonna have to kind of balance out after that, or maybe it won't. But
he just destroyed it forever.
But I mean, like, I know D'Lo is not what we all thought he would be, but he's still solid. He's still a buck. He's still. I mean, Ant Edwards, Cat, and Rudy Gobert is going to be fun. This team has a bright future, especially with Ant Edwards at the helm. You know, so I had to put them in the 8 because they're a very talented team, even though they did lose quite a bit of depth.
My
goodness.
For my 8 seed, people might click off the video when I say this. I have the Memphis Grizzlies.
Yeah, that's a little low, bro.
I think a lot of teams don't like them. I just kind of get that vibe watching how people talk about them. Well, maybe I'm all biased.
You're biased.
And I'm projecting this feeling onto the entire NBA. But I just think people are going to want to come out and try to humble the Grizzlies this year. I know the Lakers were talking trash to them a lot this year. Ja, Bane, Dylan Brooks is unpredictable. Brandon Clark is going to have to fill in as their starting 4 until Jaren Jackson Jr. gets back. And we saw that they were able to play really well when Ja went out. I think Jaren Jackson Jr. is going to be a harder piece to replace, even though he's not as good as Ja, because his defense, he was one of the best defenders in the league last year. He led the league in block shots, was top 3, I think, for Defensive Player of the Year, or he might not have been top 3 for Defensive Player of the Year, but his stats were incredible on defense.
But I have faith in Brandon Clark. He won't be. He's not Jaren Jackson Jr., but I think step in and fill that role for a couple weeks. I think he'll be fine.
And then
I really do.
They did some things in the offseason that confused me. They lost Kyle Anderson, who
to Minnesota.
To Minnesota, funny enough, and they lost D'Anthony Melton in a trade for Danny Green, who tore his ACL in the last game of the postseason. So they traded a really solid backup for someone that's just not even going to play.
Yeah,
which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me.
I agree, very questionable move.
And I think 2 out of the 3 reasons they did well when Ja went out were Tyus Jones, who they still have. He's a great ball handler, assists, not many turnovers.
Great bench point guard, yeah.
Kyle Anderson, who can facilitate, who can run the point, and D'Anthony Melton, who can facilitate and run the point. So now what happens when Ja gets hurt? They're going to rely on Conchar or Zaire Williams? I think they're going
Well,
to.
they seem to have a lot of faith in the progression of Zion Williams, so I'm not going to discredit it. I haven't seen anything that makes me think Van's going to make a jump like John that we're talking about.
Yeah,
But
I think they're going to lack a lot of ball handling, a lot of creation, especially in the second unit. Desmond Bain still hasn't shown that he can get to like the Devin Booker level where he started out as just a scorer, but now can also facilitate a little bit. I assume he will have another bit of a jump this year. And then Steven Adams got played off the court at times in the playoffs, and they had to start Xavier Tillman. So that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. I see him falling down a little bit because teams behind them, like the Clippers, like the Mavericks, like the Pelicans, all got better as well.
Well, sure, a little bit, but this is not a little bit. Eighth seed, like I'm not knocking you. I'm just saying, like, I get if you want to say, yeah, the questionable offseason moves knock them down. I believe what they finished last year too.
Yeah,
2 seed, knock them maybe down to the 4 or 5, but you knocked them down all the way to the 8th seed, which is just a bit questionable to me. But I don't hate it. I think you gave solid reasons, but like, if you're gonna say knock them a little bit, I think you knocked them a little too far.
I knocked them a lot of it, I guess.
Yeah, a lot of it. Like just a little too far for my opinion, because they're still a very good young team. But
all right, on to my 7th seed. I have your 8th seed. I have the Minnesota Timberwolves.
Mm-hmm.
They got better, but like I said, with my reasoning for the Grizzlies moving down, there's a lot of teams behind them got better too. So I don't really think the Wolves hop over anybody really. Jaden McDaniels.
I'm hopping over the Grizzlies.
Well, more I have the Grizzlies hopping behind. Jaden McDaniels is a bit of a weak spot there at starting small forward. But other than that, you got Cat, you got Rudy Gobert. I like Kyle Anderson off the bench a lot. The bench is going to be a little weak. Jordan McLaughlin, Austin Rivers.
That's my only main concern.
Taurean Prince and Naz Reid.
Yeah, Bryn Forbes and Austin Rivers and Jordan McLaughlin off the bench is a little bit rough. I'm not going to lie to you.
I think Anthony Edwards is going to make an All-Star game this year. He basically has to make an All-Star game this year based on how he's finished the season. I think in the playoffs he took over as the Timberwolves' best player. And I'm just excited to see the dynamic between him and Rudy Gobert. I'm a big fan of Rudy Gobert. Mm-hmm. Just as long as the Timberwolves can have a decent perimeter defense, because we know their interior defense with Rudy Gobert is going to be incredible. He's done it with the Jazz every year when they've had rough perimeter defense.
Yeah.
He just is able to hold it down there. So I see the Wolves getting a little bit better. Maybe their record is about the same, and they just finished 7 again.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Like, I think the Wolves are primed to make a splash this year. So like, I really like that. My 7 is the New Orleans Pelicans.
Okay.
Which I think you had it about 6. But
you think, or you literally read it off of my paper right now?
No, I think. I think. Oh, look. I mean, first of all, let's just talk about one of the biggest things in the recent offseason. Zion Williams. Don't do that because I love Herb Jones.
I love Herb Jones too.
Herb Jones out of Bama, baby. Love you, big dog. Zion Williamson is in tip-top shape right now.
Yep.
And reports are coming out that he is destructive in practice, and it looks like he's gonna come in and average like 26 a game easy, like no problem. Just coming, just 26 and 9, no problem. Just destroying people, just jumping over and destroying their heads. Just man. And then you still have Brandon Ingram, and you got some solid bench pieces like Devontae Graham coming off the bench. I don't hate Jackson Hayes. I feel like a lot of people are low on him, but I think he's solid off the bench.
Grand Theft Alvarado, baby.
Grand Theft Alvarado, baby. I love that dude. Can you shoot? Yes, I can. Splash. But Trey Murphy, and you still got Valanciunas, who was really a pleasant surprise last year for this team after the swap. Yeah, so and Herb Jones, just an absolute stud. I think a year from 2 from now, Herb Jones is going to be in the conversation for Defensive Player of the Year. Just mark my words. But I don't think any people are expecting that. The CJ extension, I like CJ, but the CJ extension kind of got me a little bit crossed because I believe he has 2 years left on this current deal, and he's going to be 32 and making 32 mil a season, which is kind of questionable. I'm not going to lie for a 32-year-old CJ McCollum. But I like him. I like this fit on this team. It seems like he's committed to staying. So, yeah, Pelicans at 7. I feel really good about that. Keep rising through the ranks, I think, over the years.
I feel really good about having the Pelicans as my 6th seed, like you said earlier. I was even battling between having them 5th and 4th. I knew they couldn't go any lower than 6th in my rankings, though, just because I do think they're better than the teams below them. Mm-hmm. I don't really have anything left to say about him that you didn't say. Zion looks like he's going to be a beast. Herb Jones is a beast on defense. Mm-hmm. Ingram can still give you 25 a night. CJ can give you 20-plus a night. He's been continuing to grow as a facilitator.
Yeah, absolutely.
Every single year he's been in the league. the Pelicans are going to be a really good team and have huge upset ability come playoff time, I think, if everyone stays healthy. If Zion can get a full season under his belt, and based off the way he looks coming into the regular season, he's not carrying around as much fat as he was before. I couldn't think of any other way to say that. That sounded better.
Not nearly as fat as he was.
Well, I didn't say he was fat. He's not carrying
kidding,
as much fat. He's not, he's going to be a little bit lighter this year.
The BMI has decreased.
The BMI has decreased. He's looks
straight
muscular.
toned now,
he's toned, yeah. So I don't have anything else to say about him. Zion's going to be a monster, and I think the Pelicans finish top 6. And come playoff time, maybe we have him upsetting somebody and throwing off the power hierarchy in the West.
Mm-hmm. I like that, bro. Pelicans all the way, baby. I'm super high on them. So my number 6, I don't know how questionable this is going to be. This is just how I feel. I believe the 6 is Clippers. I know this is a talented roster who added John Wall, but let's face it, it's also a 31, 32-year-old John Wall.
Yeah.
And I don't trust him nor Kawhi at this point to stay fully healthy and play more than 50 games. I just don't. I wish I could. If they both come out and play 65 plus games, good. Like they could easily make a top 3 seed. But I don't trust them to stay healthy enough throughout the entirety of the season. Don't get me wrong. I like some of the pieces off their bench. Terrence Mann is a stud. Norm Powell, Luke Kennard. I believe they lost. Didn't they lose Robert Covington?
Not according to ESPN depth charts.
I thought he ended up going out, but never mind then. I don't like the front court very much. I think are you the one that's super high on Batum?
I love Batum.
Yeah, Batum.
Batum is one of the more underrated players in the league, in my opinion.
Batum fine off the bench. As you're starting power forward, maybe not so much, and then Zubac. I'm kind of indifferent on Zubac, to be honest. Like he's fine. But yeah, that's a big 3 of PG, John Wall, and Kawhi. But I'm just scared PG's gonna have to carry the load again, and he's not getting any younger either. I believe he turns 30 this year as well. I believe he was 29, 30 this year. So I don't know. It's an aging team that's just I just don't trust them to stay healthy enough. So Clippers at 6. I don't think that's a bad take, honestly.
When we get to my 4 seed, I'll tell you why I think the Clippers will be a little bit higher. But until
then, I'd love to hear it.
I'll go to my number 5 seed, who this might be a bit of a surprise. Another team I have taken a bit of a step back. I got the Phoenix Suns. I think DeAndre Ayton just kind of looks defeated. He doesn't look like he wants to be there. He hasn't talked with Monty. Well, I assume at this point he has. But on media day, at least, he had not talked to Monty Williams since the season ended, since he got benched in Game 7. Chris Paul just absolutely fell off a cliff after he turned 37. He has to get back to – well, does he have to get back to being Chris Paul? Or was this it? I think we're going to see him slow down this year. I think this is finally the year. I think this is the first time we've really seen the signs of it that strong in the playoffs, where it wasn't caused by injury. It was just he woke up one day, started to play basketball, and it was just not as good at it as it used to be. That's what it looked like, unless he had some super secret injury that no one knows about.
I think he was claiming he was injured, but I digress. So yeah,
and then Cam Johnson, I like taking Jay Crowder's role at the starting power forward. Maybe they get some bench depth for when they trade Jay Crowder, who said he doesn't want to have anything to do with the team this year, not playing in a training camp or anything. Landry Shamet off the bench. Their bench is the weakest it's been, I think, since they've had this.
Yeah, after losing JaVale, Bismack is not the best.
Right. Cam Payne is going to be probably their 6th man, which is not very good. Torrey Craig, Dario Saric is injury prone. Bismack is just kind of getting up there in age. I just don't see them being as good as they were last year. And we've seen before that Devin Booker and DeAndre Ayton is not enough. And I know they've gotten better, but this has been my argument with a lot of teams. So have a lot of teams. A lot of teams have gotten better. So I think they finished 5 this year.
I think this is where we have the biggest discrepancy in our list. But I think I have a pretty solid reason when we get to it as to why. But my 5 seed is the Denver Nuggets.
Ooh.
Oh, actually, that's another big discrepancy we have.
Ooh.
You don't like that?
I don't like that at all. I would go as far as to say I hate that.
You hate that? Wow, really? I don't think it's.
I'm offended.
It's crazy when last year. I can't trust Jamal Murray as much as I love him to stay healthy, but last year they finished under the Jazz.
So explain.
So they were the 6th seed last year. So why is it so crazy?
Just tell me why they're the 5 seed.
They're the 5 seed because first of all, like I said, I can't trust Jamal Murray. Also, I don't absolutely love their bench outside of Aaron Gordon. Zeke Naji, fine, but DeAndre Jordan, Jeff Green, and Ish Smith old and kind of, no offense, kind of irrelevant. I'm sorry to say it.
Okay,
The
that's
Bruce
fair.
Brown was one of the best pickups of the entire offseason.
I agree.
I will give you that. Michael Porter Jr. is getting paid a lot of money. I hope he shows he's worth it, but sometimes I see flashes where I don't think he is, and I look at that as inconsistencies. You know what I mean? And like Jokic can only take you so far by himself if the other team is lacking a little bit. And so and KCP addition was fine. I didn't love, I mean, losing Monte Morris for Ish Smith, but do what you got to do, I guess. KCP's fine. Nice solid a nice solid piece. So no, I'm sorry, I just don't have super faith that they're going to be a top 3 seed. I just somehow they'll play better in the playoffs than their record shows in the regular season. See, that's one thing is these rankings. We're not saying these are the team's best in order necessarily,
Right.
because some teams just happen to perform much better in the regular season and then hit a straight nosedive in the offseason. I think they're going to be the opposite. I just have them low record wise
Yeah,
for the
fair.
regular season. Not that they're a bad team, just record wise, I don't think they're a top 4 team when it comes to wins. So yeah, Nuggets at 5.
All right, my 4 seed I have the Los Angeles Clippers. I think record roster construction wise, the Clippers are probably the best team in the Western Conference.
Oh wow.
I like John Wall a lot. I like Paul George a lot. I love Kawhi. I think he's going to be one of the best players in the league this year.
Yeah.
I'm high on Batum. Zubac is a player that you'd like to upgrade, but he's kind of a hard player to upgrade. And then Reggie Jackson off the bench has shown the ability to give you 20 points. Terrence Mann, I love Norm Powell. He can explode off the bench too. The Nard dog, Luke Kennard, Marcus Morris.
Nard dog.
They got some good bench depth down there. And I just am a huge believer in Kawhi. I think this team only gets the 4 seed just because they don't play enough games to be the 1 seed or the 2 seed or the 3 seed.
Mm-hmm.
I could see Kawhi playing around 60, same with John Wall, same with Paul George, if they even reach that 60 game mark. But come playoff time, this roster is going to be terrifying every team it plays against, I think. I wouldn't be surprised if they make a finals run if everyone stays healthy. But for the regular season, I only see them peaking at number 4 just because I don't think everyone plays enough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So who do you have at number 4?
My number 4 is the Dallas Mavericks, we're pretty close on that. The addition of Christian Wood was great. I absolutely love that. And another thing I'm excited for, I think we were talking earlier, is to see Josh Green hopefully get more playing time.
Right.
Outside of that, I'm concerned. I don't know. I don't think I approve of Christian Wood as a 6-man. I think I would rather start him at center over JaVale. That's just me personally. JaVale is a really nice piece off the bench. Spencer Dinwiddie had showed flashes last year. I don't absolutely love Reggie Bullock being potentially a starter.
Reggie Bullock was clamping people in the postseason.
It's true, but like, is he really starting small forward material? Is that really going to propel you to a championship? I don't think so.
That's fair.
I'm sorry, Reggie Bullock. No hate. And then like Dwight Powell, we all know. I think we all know how I feel about Dwight Powell. Not a huge fan of Dwight Powell.
Nope.
Indifferent. Nobody likes Dwight Powell. I'm sorry, man. I'm glad he's getting less minutes. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm glad he's getting less minutes.
Yep.
Maxi Kleba. There's not much to say about this. They're definitely a top 4 team. They definitely, I think, are still a piece or two away from actually making. Even though what happened last year, I don't think they make it as far this year. Personally, I don't know if they get as far as they did, but I mean, record-wise, they'll be fine. I think this is an appropriate spot for them. They're always going to be a top 4 contending team when it comes to this. Very talented team, but still not enough, I think, to put them in my top 3 personally.
Yep.
You would disagree.
I would disagree. I have them as the 3 seed.
Just fair.
I did have them as the 4 seed at first, but then I was like, I don't think the Clippers players play enough games. So that was the bump that put the Mavericks
That's fair. Yeah.
up to number 3. I'm more than happy to bet on Luka. I think he's a stud. I think he's the best player in the NBA. I've said it before. Tim Hardaway Jr. and Spencer Dinwiddie are going to be swapping positions. I have Tim Hardaway Jr. starting. I think that makes more sense for me, and having Spencer Dinwiddie be your offensive.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But in Jason Kidd press conferences, we've learned that that's not going to be the rotation. Dinwiddie is going to be taking that Jalen Brunson role in the starting lineup.
Mm-hmm.
They are going to miss Brunson for sure.
That was a huge loss. Yeah.
But they got Christian Wood for peanuts. They gave up Sterling Brown, who didn't play in the postseason barely the regular season. They gave up Marquise Chris, and they gave up Trey Burke.
Well, I just want to know how you feel about him being the 6th man. Do you like the move, or would you rather? I'd rather him start, but that's just me.
I would rather him start, but I also love JaVale McGee. I think he's the perfect type of center to play with Luka, because he's going to catch lobs, he's going to get rebounds, and he's going to block shots. He's going to be able to play in the pick and roll and create space for Dorian Finney-Smith to catch and shoot, and Reggie Bullock to catch and shoot. And whether it is Dinwiddie or Tim Hardaway Jr. out there on the court, or Maxi Kleber coming in off the bench, there's going to be so much room for these shooters with JaVale McGee and Luka running the pick and roll.
Mm-hmm.
So I really love the thought of that. And then Christian Wood off the bench. If he does come off the bench, why not put him in the sixth man of the year running?
I think he would be.
He's going to be,
no question.
I think he's a huge pickup for Dallas.
He's huge. Yeah.
I'm excited to see how he plays with Dallas because I'm going to be honest, I don't watch a lot of Rockets games, at least in the past years I haven't. So I'm excited to see him in a bigger role with that, or not a bigger role, but in a bigger spotlight with Dallas playing with Luka. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. The Mavericks make as much noise in the playoffs this year as they did last year. Like I think you said, no,
I doubt it, honestly.
But I think the regular season they'll be a little bit better. And first year they made the playoffs, they were the 7th seed. Then they were the 5th seed. Then they were the 4th seed. So the next natural progression would be the 3rd seed.
I mean, they're climbing, sure, but I just really wish they kept Jalen Brunson. But I mean, that would have been piece de resistance, probably a top 2 team. You keep Jalen Brunson and add Christian Wood, all of a sudden it's like,
yeah.
Oh my God, the Dallas Mavericks are here. but yeah, I think Jalen Brunson. They had
to go and hire Jalen Brunson's dad and literally steal him, tamper. I don't know how that was legal. I don't know how that was legal.
We need to really NBA Adam Silver. If you're listening to this,
yes,
we really just need to sit down and just go thoroughly through these tampering rules because sometimes they just don't make sense to me. Sometimes they enforce where I don't think they should, and most of the time. I mean, yeah, and they just where I think they should, they just don't enforce, and they just like, oh, well, that's not tampering. Like, let's clearly and thoroughly define tampering. Like, let's just do it.
I mean, since the playoffs,
no gray areas.
I mean, it's not tampering to say we want a player, but I think it is tampering to repeatedly say, while the season is going on, yeah, we're going to do everything we can to get this player. We're gonna get his dad to come over here. And then they were apparently communicating with Jalen Brunson. Like, you don't think Jalen Brunson and his dad are talking about the Knicks? There's obviously some tampering going on there. I don't know.
His dad's like, take the money, take the money.
It's just a weird situation. And I thought he was going to stay with Dallas for a little bit.
I thought so too, given the huge playoff push they had last year. I was like, I thought you would have wanted to stay on this team.
Blood is thicker than championship wine, I guess.
Come on, that one off the dome piece.
Yeah. Could you tell?
Yeah. I know the way you said it. Oh my goodness. Oh, you're funny, man. All right. Now my number 3, where you're gonna disagree, because there's another big discrepancy, is I have the Memphis Grizzlies, because even with Jaren Jackson Jr. out 4 to 6 weeks,
I can't get mad at that.
Yeah, they're still an incredibly talented team, barely above. Like this was probably one of the harder part of my list, barely above. Those teams are so neck and neck. They're right there. But I just like the Grizzlies set up more. And I do agree they have made some questionable moves this offseason where they could have gotten infinitely better. I don't know. I'm not absolutely in love with their bench, but I still think that that starting 5 and then the bench is still, I think, good enough, like Xavier Tillman and Tyus Jones, to propel you to a top 3 seed. I mean, I don't think they're going to be much different personally. That's really all I got to say. They're not going to be much different than last year, I don't think. I think about the same regular season and playoffs, to be honest. I don't think they make a huge jump in playoffs either because they didn't really make a huge jump as a team this year. So, they're going to be a little stagnant this year. Maybe that's a good word for that, stagnant. They're going to kind of plateau and be here probably for this season. But Grizzlies at 3, still a very talented young team.
Yeah, I think they take the step back, but I can't be mad at your reasoning. They were good last year. Why shouldn't they be good again? Sure, they lost some pieces, but they still have Ja. They still have Desmond Bane. They still will at some point have Jaren Jackson Jr. So I can't get mad at that. My number 2, our number 2.
Our number 2 is
Golden State,
reigning champ.
Golden State, reigning champion.
They got to be a top 3 seed.
I know. I think they might have the best center they've ever had as far as their dynasty years, adding James Wiseman.
James Wiseman looked really good in that preseason.
Yeah, and then the one reason I was contemplating having them lower because I think they probably know this is the last year of the championship window. So I was thinking maybe they play Kuminga minutes they normally wouldn't. Maybe they play Moses Moody minutes they normally wouldn't. But even so, Steph, Clay, Wiggs, Draymond, Looney, Jordan Poole coming off the bench, James Wiseman, Dante DiVincenzo.
Yeah, what do you think about DiVincenzo as basically the Gary Payton replacement? I mean, at the sense and shooting guard, even though 2 completely different places.
I love Dante DiVincenzo. He was great with the Bucks all those years where they were making deep playoff runs.
I definitely think they're going to miss the defense of the guard position from Gary Payton, though. That's one thing they're definitely going to miss.
Otto Porter, nice stretch big off the bench. But I love this line. I love this roster. Poole, Moody, and Kuminga have proven things last year that they can be rotation players on really good teams. So I have absolutely no reservations about this squad, and I feel really confident.
There's not much to say because they really there really is, again, it's basically just the same roster. You lose Gary Payton and for Dante DiVincenzo, and you add to Michael Green. And but yeah, I agree. This is the last year for the championship window. But James Wiseman coming in, if he progresses really nice and has a really nice role, that's starting center spot this year. If he gets it, I don't know. They'll probably end up starting Looney for most of the year.
Yeah.
But like I wouldn't be surprised if maybe not this year, but maybe towards the back end of this year, if he overtakes, if he plays good enough, I can see him overtaking the starting center spot. Why not? Looney's good starting and off the bench as far as I'm concerned. Really versatile player. So yeah, not much to say. These reigning champs, they're poised to make a deep playoff run again. It's just such a their front office just puts together the best teams. Just the most well put together, versatile teams I think we've seen in a long time. It's a reason why they've been so successful, and they have easily one of the best coaches all time, I think, at this point, in Steve Kerr.
Right.
So yeah, there's not much else to say, guys. The Warriors, there's no reason this team can't go back to the finals. There's really not.
Yep. And now on my number 1 seed, I have the Denver Nuggets. Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic, Michael Porter Jr. What more can you say? That's a big three right there.
It's a good team.
If they stay healthy, that's a heck of a big three. Those
I agree.
3 20-point per game scorers.
They have the potential to be they could be 1 or 2 if everybody stays healthy and plays pretty consistently.
Plus KCP, 3-and-D guy, big piece of the Lakers championship season. I love Bruce Brown. He's going to hustle. He's going to get rebounds. He's going to open up second chance opportunities with his offensive rebounding. Bones Highland is going to have a 6th man of the year type season, I think, off the bench. He's absolutely electric. He's kind of like Emmanuel Quickly and Tyrese Maxey, and those just kind of small, quick dudes that don't really have a conscience, will shoot from anywhere. And sometimes you get really mad at them because you're like, why would you shoot that? But sometimes you're like, dang, you just got to appreciate it because he's good. I think they're going to have one of the best 6 men in the league. They're going to have an MVP contender in Jokic. They're going to have Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., who should give you around 20 points per game. KCP can give you 12 to 15, especially with the open looks that will be created off of Jokic double teams. This team is going to be incredible. They have so many weapons. Sure, the bench is a little shallow, but the bench has always been a little shallow, and they've always been pretty good. And the starting lineup, this is the best 5 Jokic has ever gotten the chance to play with, I think. Plus Aaron Gordon, Bones Highland. Come playoff time, you're only going to really need those 7 guys.
It's true. You're only going to need your 7 through 8s. And I think it's our duty as a community to pray for a fully healthy Jamal Murray season.
And Michael Porter Jr.
I especially freaking Jamal Murray.
Yeah.
I just want to see my man play 50-plus games. Like, I miss Jamal Murray. But, yeah, I think our 5 and our first are swapped.
Yeah,
because my number 1, and I know I might get some hate for this, but I'm not going to talk about it much. There's only really one reason I have the Suns at the 1 seed. They're not going to win 64 games. So we're probably more closer to 53, 54 games this year. But this team is built for the regular season. I think this team, again, is still talented enough, even though they lost JaVale, is still talented enough to take the 1 seed. Very early playoff exit, though. All I'm saying is, if we're talking about regular season records with this, the Suns are going to get 1. I'm sorry, they're just going to win the most games in the West, maybe even a first round exit.
Right.
Like, because I do agree CP3 takes a dip, but it seems like he has no problems. Right, last season in the regular season, man was still doing his thing. Yeah, it's just when the postseason comes around, he just nosedives as hard as he can to sabotage himself. He's been doing it for his whole career. It seems like. I hate to say it, CP3, but the playoff record is not in your favor. But yeah, no, I don't have them much. I don't think they're the best team on there. I just think they pull out the number 1 seed. Personally, I think that's who ends up taking the number 1 seed in the West.
All right, so you heard our rankings right there. I'm going to read mine real quick, then you can read yours, and then we'll pivot to the East. 10 seed Blazers, 9 seed Lakers, 8 seed Grizzlies, 7 seed Wolves, 6 the Pelicans, the Suns at 5, Clippers 4, Mavericks 3, Warriors 2, and the best in the West this year, with Nikola Jokic, 2-time MVP, with Jamal Murray, Bruce Brown, Michael Porter Jr., Kentavious Caldwell, Bones Highland, Aaron Gordon.
I hope you're right. I just don't know regular season wise. I just don't trust this team. But I digress. 10 seed Sacramento Kings, 9 seed Los Angeles Lakers, 8 seed Minnesota Timberwolves, 7 seed New Orleans Pelicans, 6 seed Los Angeles Clippers, 5 seed Denver Nuggets, 4 seed Dallas Mavericks, 3 seed Memphis Grizzlies, 2 seed Golden State Warriors, and 1 seed Phoenix Suns. So I think it's interesting. I mean, we basically have the same pool of teams,
Yep.
So I think I think most people have a consensus.
We'll definitely come back and revisit
top
these
8
at the end of the
teams are.
season and see how we did.
I think we do pretty well, all things considered.
Maybe.
I'm gonna laugh if my Suns prediction is right. They just
Maybe.
come up with 58 games.
Maybe, Nate, let's get this on video real quick. Whoever gets the most predictions correct, most seedings correct, or whoever gets the least correct has to do something at the end of the season. We'll think of it later, whether it be hot sauce, whether it be a bucket of ice water.
I'll do it.
Yeah, something like that.
Absolutely.
Just to keep the viewers engaged.
Should be interesting. All right, I need to make sure I save this on my phone. Make sure I do not delete this.
On to the East.
On to the East.
To the East we go.
Our division.
Our conference.
Our teams are here.
Number 10 seed for me, the New York Knicks. Last year they started out really well. They had that big game to start the season. Everyone thought this was the year. The New York Knicks are back. We had the Bing Bong video, and then they just nosedive. And coming into this next season, sure, they've improved a little bit with guys like Brunson. Barrett should be getting better. But there are 9 teams that I think are better than them, and the teams below them are just really, really bad, especially with the weird situation in Charlotte with Miles Bridges being currently arrested. So that's just a weird topic to discuss. I don't even want to touch that right now.
Let's not.
Knicks, I have them finishing as a 10 seed. Brunson, Fournier, Barrett, Randall, Mitch Robinson, Obi Toppin off the bench, Quickly, D. Rose, Quentin Grimes, Cam Reddish. We know Tom doesn't like to play his young guys, Tom Tibbs.
It doesn't seem like Cam Reddish is very happy here.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's been happy anywhere, though. So we'll see what happens with his situation.
He may just be one of those guys.
Knicks, I have them finishing 10th. I think the nickname for the Brunson, Barrett, Randall trio of the mid 3 is pretty funny and pretty accurate. They're a pretty solid big 3. They're a mid 3.
A mid 3. Yeah, that makes sense. I don't have them on my list. I'm just gonna say that right now. Even with the Jalen Brunson side, really don't like the bench outside of Emmanuel Quickly.
D Rose.
And D Rose. D Rose, I'll give you that, but still 34, 35. He's still solid coming off the bench. But outside of him and Quickly, I'm really not in love with this. I'm not in love with Obi Toppin, Isaiah Hartenstein, just not.
Yeah, fair enough.
And it's the New York Knicks.
They'll
find a way to underperform.
It's the Knicks, yeah.
They should be, talent-wise, they should be top 10, but somehow they'll end up 12 or 11. Somehow.
Can you imagine a playing game in the Garden? That would be crazy.
That would be crazy. All right, my number 10 is the Washington Wizards.
Our hometown Wizards.
Who I don't root for, and neither do you. but anyway, this team is I just don't know. The reason this team made it in personally, there's some good pieces, but it was process of elimination. Hornets are dealing with things right now. Don't trust the Knicks. Pacers are going to be the worst team probably in the entire league, honestly.
Yeah.
I even see Rockets and Thunder being better than the Pacers.
Don't forget about the Jazz.
Oh, yeah, the Jazz. But they're still going to be better than the Pacers, I swear. But and then there's one other team I'm forgetting about. The Pistons. Well, the Pistons were the Magic. And the Magic, I couldn't put in there quite yet, even though there's some. I'd really like their young core.
There's some stuff to get excited about.
Yeah, and Pistons really a lot to get excited about. But just as of now, don't think they're there yet. So Wizards, Kuzma, Bradley Beal, Daniel Gafford, Kristaps Porzingis, Rui Hachimura got some really solid pieces, and I think simply they're good enough to make the 10th seed. I couldn't give them anything higher because I think there are 9 teams that are much better than them. But by process of elimination, I think they're the 10th best team in the East. Sorry, Wizards fan, if you were hoping I was gonna boost you guys up. I'm like, oh my god, you said the Wizards are good. And they're solid. It's just I trust you slightly more than the remaining teams.
You're just not as bad as the other teams.
Yeah, exactly.
On to my 9 seed, a team that got really lucky they had the cushion they did last season. Is the Chicago Bulls. If the Bulls hadn't started off the season as hot as they did when everybody was healthy, this team would not have made the playoffs because they fell off hard when Lonzo and Caruso got hurt around mid-season. DeMar DeRozan still had an MVP caliber year. I look forward to him having another great year this season. But without Lonzo, this team just feels a little incomplete. And according to his doctors and himself, he's still having trouble running and walking up the stairs and jumping.
Yeah, that's definitely
so. Who knows when he even comes back? When he comes back, this team is really special, I think. I love Lonzo Ball. He's one of the more underrated players in the league. He might never make an all-star game, but he's going to be one of those guys that you just kind of need to have on a good championship roster, I think.
Yeah, I was a little hard on him coming out in the draft, but I really liked what he's become into. He's kind of he's not a diva. He's kind of become and filled into his role. And
Right.
he like knows what his role is and he plays it really well.
He's a 3-and-D point guard who can also distribute with the best of them. I love Lonzo
with
Ball.
good size, 6'5", like really good, like solid, really good defense. I really like him. So yeah, it really hurts that he's not going to be on the floor for them for a little bit.
But as far as the players they do have, Andre Drummond is nice as a backup center this year. Caruso hopefully is healthy this whole year. Maybe he starts at point guard over Hayo Dosunmu, who had a really solid rookie year. You still got Levine, you still got DeMar. Project Pat Williams should be healthy all year long.
Pat Williams is one I'm looking forward to. I hope he does. I hope he really shines this year.
Goran Dragic has always been a solid bench piece. I'm going to miss him with Brooklyn too. He had some great playoff moments, of which there were few for Brooklyn.
I think Ayo Dosunmu is actually going to really fit into this point guard role nicely while Lonzo is gone. I actually really like. He has way too much upside, and I really like him 10 times more than I like Kobe White right now.
Yeah.
So so I think it makes logical sense to start him at point guard, but I don't think that he can't go off and surprise us at that starting point guard spot where Lonzo's gone. So
yes, and I just think a lot of teams in the East are really good this year. So
yeah, the East is absolutely freaking stacked this year. It's gonna be very interesting competition wise. My 8th seed is the
9 seed,
or not. My 9 seed is the Atlanta Hawks.
Okay.
I don't know. I know you were probably expecting them to be higher simply because of DeJounte Murray, but I mean, again, their bench outside of a Kongwu is and Bogdanovich. I mean, you lose Kevin Huerter.
You got beef with Frank Kaminsky, man?
Yeah, I really don't. Who likes Frank Kaminsky?
I love Frank the Tank.
I don't. And Okongwu has really good upside, but Justin Holiday and Aaron Holiday, I don't like that bench. John Collins has really just plateaued. We know what he is, and he's not going to get any better at this point. I mean, Clint Capella is
that was harsh.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but it's true. Let's be honest with ourselves.
Nathan's not pulling any punches today.
Well, I got to justify why I have them a little bit lower than you and probably other people do. I still think they're a good team with Trey and DeJounte, but and DeAndre Hunter.
Have you noticed when I say a team is low, I'm like, well, the other teams are just better. And you're like, these guys just suck. These guys are low because I didn't
say Collins sucked. What I said was he's reached his peak and he's not going to get any better. This is about as good as it gets for him. That's not saying he's trash.
Just keep going.
Because John Collins is still solid.
I'm kidding. Keep going.
And then Clint Capella it's just not. I would rather see them give up. I'd rather see them honestly split some starting minutes between Okongwu and Capella. I want to see what Okongwu, which we're all banking is the future of their center spot. I want to see him get some minutes because Capella is starting to regress a little bit, and so I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they made it higher, but as of right now, I think I have the 8 other teams in the East better than them right now. I just do, So Atlanta Hawks, a little low on them than some people. But
on to my 8 seed. I have another top 3 seed falling way down here. I got the Miami Heat.
Goodness gracious!
Because how much longer is Pat Riley and the Miami Heat front office going to stand packed and just count on their young unknown players to be stars in their role?
As long as it works.
Is Max Strus gonna have another great season? They're counting on Max Strus, Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, Oladipo. Tell me that's not risky. Those are the guys they're kind of counting on to give them big.
It's risky, but it worked last year.
It worked last year, but it also worked the year before that for Duncan Robinson, and then he just wasn't in the rotation. Sometimes these guys that have good seasons one year out of nowhere don't do the same thing the next year.
Yeah, but I think that's exemplary of good coaching because we know how good Spoelstra is, and I think he can kind of pick and choose who he wants, and they can still succeed in their role.
Of the complete opposite of that with Duncan, who was really good, looked like a diamond in the rough.
Sure, but they obviously didn't miss him last season after the huge playoff push they made, so it wasn't like it was a huge deficit to the team.
Right, but my point is sometimes these guys that come out of nowhere, you say that's good coaching, they had a really good season,
and then they fall off. Yeah.
That could happen with Max Strus. That could happen with Caleb Martin, who they're counting on to be their starting power forward as of now. That could happen with Gabe Vincent. Oladipo has still never looked the same since all of his injuries, which stinks because I like Oladipo a lot.
God, I remember the first year he was on the Pacers, man, absolutely loved it. Looks spectacular.
Jimmy Butler has shown that he does not really care to try during the regular season. Mm-hmm. He's going to give you like 19 and 6, and that's kind of where he caps.
And then they still made the 1 seed last year.
They did still make the 1 seed last year. Bam Adebayo is someone who I think has kind of become overrated, and he's kind of
to an extent. I agree with that. Yeah,
he hasn't really gotten better, and places where you would have expected him to get better by now. He still hasn't really added the tray. He still isn't really getting by other centers off the dribble, getting into the paint, dishing it out. He's not made that next progression where we thought he was going to be an all-star, a superstar coming soon, maybe even the best player on this team, where he's kind of just been happy to sit back, keep being good on defense, and worry about everybody else doing the offense. Lowry is injury prone. He's getting older. I used to be really high on Lowry. Now, not so much just because he keeps getting older. And Tyler Hero, again, is someone that has his moments. And then other times he's just completely off. I don't have a whole lot of faith in this Heat team.
See, I have a lot more faith than you. And I mean, we'll talk about it when we get there. Expect Duncan Robinson to get more minutes this year. I think we can all expect that. But hey, I mean, I get what you're saying, but still, I think this team again is not much different than last season. I don't see why they couldn't be a top 4 team, just record wise. Maybe they don't make the playoff push given these things. Maybe Lowry, maybe we see some more injuries in Lowry this season.
And that's another thing I want to touch on. You said they're not much different than last year. 7 teams that I have ahead of them this year are different from last year, and not only are they different, they're better. The Heat didn't get better. The Heat got worse.
But I would, well, if we're going to talk about, like, again, I just had Hawks at 9, so I definitely think the Heat are better than the Hawks to me personally. I do. That's why I have them a bit lower. Yeah, that's probably going to be the biggest discrepancy in our list is the Miami Heat. But I digress. I'm just predicting what I think is going to happen. See, I think you're going more based off what should happen, which these teams should be better than the Heat. But again, it's the same thing. The Nuggets should be the 1 seed as opposed to the Suns, but somehow. I'm going a little more realistic, I think, no offense, because, like, somehow things seem to work like that. It's just like, oh, the Heat made the 1 seed again, and all these other teams got better. It's like he won 55 games.
Yeah, that's like that's fair. That's fair.
I'm right about that. Yeah, it's like things that should happen don't necessarily. So I'm going realistically at what I absolutely see happen.
Okay.
But all right, so my seed is the Toronto Raptors.
I feel like I'm going more off projection. You're going more off fact.
Yeah, I think so, which is fine. I think I like the variety of both.
Right.
Because I think there's plenty of people that identify with either one or both, But Toronto Raptors just a very talented young team. They're always to me the hardest team to rank because they're so talented. It's like I could see them finishing 8th. I could see them finishing 4-3. You know what I mean? Like they're super good with Gary Trent and OG and Scotty Barnes, Freddie Van Fleet.
Love Nick Nurse. Love that guy.
Well, I actually do really like the pickup of Otto Porter Jr.
Yeah.
From the championship team. Precious Achiuwa and Thad Young and Chris Boucher are people to also look forward to. I can't put them above.
You're not going to give a shout out to Bo Cruz?
Oh my goodness, for Wancho Wancho.
Uh-huh.
Still have not seen that movie, but Bo Cruz. No, he's a better player in the movie than in real life. Sorry.
Yeah.
He's not even the best Hernan Gomez.
I think he won the FIBA MVP because Spain won the championship and he was the best player.
No, remember he was crying because his brother won it. Willie won it.
No, I'm pretty sure Juancho won it. I'm like 100% sure.
Are you sure? I thought there was a whole post where like he was crying because Willie was holding the trophy.
No, Juancho won. I promise.
All right,
you.
We will look it up after this. Check. Put in the comments what it is because I might be missed up. But I swear to God, I saw him like it was like brother goals, crying for Willie as he wins. Willie as he wins the MVP or whatever. But I digress. I don't know. I think the one team we're going to discuss in a minute that you might disagree with me putting over the Raptors is the Bulls. I'm a little higher on the Bulls than you are right now. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I felt like this is the most fair spot for them. Raptors at 8. Again though, wouldn't be surprised if they're higher.
Yeah.
Personally, they're a very well equipped and well coached young team. So
I have the Raptors ranked similarly, but I have a little buffer between them. I have the Hawks at number 7.
Yeah, Hawks at 7.
They did get better. DeJounte Murray is a huge pickup. He is the best sidekick Trae Young has had since he's come into the league, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Bogdan Bogdanovic coming off the bench should be a lot of fun. He's still a really solid player that can give you 20 points every once in a while. DeAndre Hunter is going to get more minutes, more opportunity. He hasn't really done a whole lot with it yet, but he keeps getting small improvement. Maybe this is the year.
Hey, small improvements are better than no improvement. So I guess if you're Atlanta, you take that. So hey.
The bench is weak as anything. Aaron Holiday, Justin Holiday, Kaminsky, and Okongwu is not great. But Trae Young, DeJounte Murray should be a really, really good backcourt duo. Collins Capella, I'm fans of, and then DeAndre Hunter is solid. So Hawks a 7. I don't see them going much higher,
Yeah,
but they definitely have the potential to do it.
yeah, they're friends like between 7 and 10. Like that's just kind of where we're at with the Atlanta Hawks
Right.
at this current moment in time. Don't see them being a top 6 team. All right, yeah, I don't know really what much to say because we discussed the Bulls, who you had at 9. I have them at 7 in quite detail. This is also boring because I do think Lonzo comes back for the second half of the season at the very least. And this is still a talented team. What I saw out of DeMar, I don't think necessarily he does the exact same because I told you in an earlier video, I definitely think Zach LaVine takes hold of this team a bit more. Kind of DeMar took really the stronghold of this team last year. I think Zach LaVine, this is your guy. I think he's going to get a bit more touches, and I think he's going to take over. And I have them pretty high because of that. I have a lot of faith in Zach LaVine. And I also have a lot of faith that Pat Will is going to develop really nicely and play the starting power forward spot to his team. Love Drummond off the bench, and I actually love Dragic. They took 2 of y'all's players.
Yo.
Big oof for y'all. I'm sorry, but yeah, I really like that prospect of them off the bench. So yeah, Bulls at 7. Not much else to say. I don't think you'd be surprised if Bulls made 7. Right? These teams right here are kind of
they're similar.
They're kind of similar and flip flopping.
They're like all in the same tier.
Yeah, same tier. It's like they're pretty good.
On to my 6th seed. I got the Toronto Raptors. One player you didn't mention when you talked about Toronto was Pascal Siakam, who I believe I had as a top 25 player in our top 25 video.
I don't, but I don't hate it.
I love his defense. I love what he can give you on offense. I love Scotty Barnes. Who knows? Maybe the Raptors make it out of the first round last year if Scotty doesn't get injured. They were looking like they might have been the first team to pull off a 3-0 comeback, and it would have been really funny because it was against Doc Rivers, who was known for blowing leads. Fred VanVleet is awesome. Gary Trent is a really solid 2 guard there. I like OG Anunoby a lot. I like Malachi Flynn. He's a bucket getter. Otto Porter Jr., Chris Boucher, Cruise Missile, Juancho Hernan-Gomez. I'm high on him because I liked how he played in Hustle, the movie.
So that's going to translate into the Raptors.
I promise you. And then Precious Achiuwa, I'm a fan of. And they just always bring it on defense. How do you score on OG, Scotty, Siakam, Chris Boucher? Fred VanVleet's a tenacious point guard defender. Gary Trent Jr. is a tenacious defender. The defense will be off the charts, as always. Nick Nurse is a genius. Who is your 6th seed?
My 6th seed, this is where we're gonna argue a little bit. I have the Philadelphia 76ers at my 6th seed.
Ooh.
Oof. Goodness gracious, Matt. You did not like that, huh?
Not one bit.
Okay, can I explain to you why?
No. You're kicked off the show.
I'm kicked off the show. Wow.
All right.
It's not the first time I've had controversial opinions.
Try to explain to me.
Try to explain to you why. Yeah. Because don't get me wrong, I'm higher on Embiid than most people are.
Yep.
I don't really. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't really care for their offseason moves. That's one reason. PJ Tucker, fine. PJ Tucker, I'll give you that. But DeAnthony Melton, I don't think does much. And then also,
he does more than Danny Green.
Well, sure, but that's not saying much. I have a 35-year-old Danny Green.
Well, he's an improvement at least. He's an improvement.
I want to like Shake Milton, but he's pretty inconsistent. Korkmaz, the only real person I love, I do love me some Thibault,
Yep.
Maxi's a stud, and Embiid is not going to play a full season. Again, that's also going to hurt their record, I believe. James Harden is going to shoot inefficiently because he's 32 years old, and we know what he is. He's still James Harden, but my man could go out there and shoot 0 for 21 at times, and like if Embiid is out, I can't have my main star James Harden bricking like that. I'm sorry, and I think there's a good chance it happens again. There's a good chance certain things happen repeatedly. There's a consistency to certain things. There's a consistency that James Harden is going to drop eggs in at least like 40% of his games. It's just going to just not going to be good. And also, since we've seen a decline in Harden because of he's not getting to the line as much.
Right.
He's not getting the calls he used to. That's one thing that is definitely going to hinder him again this season. So it's not to say they couldn't be better, but record-wise, I think 6 is where I'm putting them because they're going to have injury problems, and their bench, again, is not strong enough for me to put them as high as you did personally.
Okay.
So did I explain at least a little bit to you as to why? I can't wait to hear.
I'm excited to counter it.
Oh, good. I'm excited to hear what you got for me. You might change my mind, but right now,
on to the 5
also
seed.
Maybe a little bit of bias.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to hate the Lakers the most, but I hate the Sixers the most.
On to the 5 seed. We have these 2 teams flip-flopped, our 5 and our 4.
Mm-hmm.
I got the Cleveland Cavaliers. For those of you that watched our top 25 video, I don't like Donovan Mitchell that much.
And I do like Donovan Mitchell.
I don't think he really brings it on defense, and I don't think his offense has gotten much better. But with that being said, you still add a 20-point per game score to a roster that was already around the 5 seed before Jared Allen got hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got something special cooking. I love Jared Allen. I love Evan Mobley. I still think, even though Garland and Donovan Mitchell are a really great backcourt, I think the strength of this lineup lies in his front court with Allen and Mobley and Kevin Love off the bench, who had a 6th man of the year caliber season last year.
Karis LeVert is also very capable of getting you good minutes and good points off the bench.
Cedi Osman is solid.
Cedi Osman's always been pretty solid.
Robin Lopez is not a great backup center.
No, Robin Lopez is the bad part of that bench, and like Raul, I like him a lot. Even Raul Neto's better to me on this team.
How about Tricky Ricky Rubio?
Tricky Ricky Rubio played really nice when he was there before they traded him, and he came right back. Yep. So good. I like the fit there, so I'm glad he came back.
This is just a really stacked roster. Isaac Okoro is the one little rough patch in the starting small forward spot, but I love Mobley. I love Jared Allen. I think Mobley's gonna have another huge season this year. And then you got 2 guys in the backcourt that are going to give you 20 a night. It's going to be a special lineup for Cleveland this year. It's going to be a good year for Cleveland.
Yeah, it really is. This team is, to me, this is like the most exciting young team we have right now. Like when I talk about them, when I get close, like I think one thing I heard that I really like to quote about them is like they're like building a super team the right way, the old-fashioned way, through drafts and through solid signings. I mean, they've kind of just developed over the years. They just kind of developed these pieces that fit really well, and they're really nice, really good pick with Darius Garland. I remember at the time we thought Darius Garland was kind of a pick. It was like, oh, you got
Sexton.
Yeah, you got Sexton. Why do you need Garland? And I mean, Sexton's gone now.
Yep,
so I mean, that tells you they showed right. And I think the trade for Jared Allen was really good. Okoro is the one at the small forward that I hope does well. He's kind of like the wild card of the starting 5. It's like I really like him defensively. Offensively, I think he's kind of limited. But you never know out of him. My 5 seed is your Brooklyn Nets, which I hope is not too low for you. But I mean, we have these flip flops, so I definitely think they're going to be 10 times better than last year.
You would hope.
Yeah, I would hope. You lost a lot of good pieces. I'm not going to lie. Blake Griffin, Bruce Brown, Andre Drummond, Dragic, and then now Claxton's your center. That's the one reason they're a little lower than I wish I could put them. I wanted to put them a bit higher, but Claxton's your starting center. I'm sorry. Yep. Again, if we're talking consistency, I'm just going to get this out of the way. Kyrie's going to miss most of the games. Let's just get that out of the way. But KD plus Ben Simmons, and then they also add TJ Warren, which I don't think is an awful move. I think he'll be really good for you guys. Royce O'Neal will get you some nice points off the bench. So this team, so this team is still really good. I think Ben Simmons shows up this year, even though I don't like Ben Simmons. I think he shows up for this team because I think he's got a lot to prove. I mean, as much hate as this man has been getting these last months, not playing in the playoffs, man's really got to prove himself, and I think he goes out there and does it. I mean, defensively, we know what he's capable of. I like the fit between him and KD personally. But the only reason I couldn't really put him higher is because you lost a lot of bench depth, and Claxton's your starting center.
Yep.
So five is a good spot for them, I think.
Come playoff time, my number 4 Brooklyn Nets are still going to be one of the most dangerous teams there is, simply because they have Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. And I think
Cam Thomas. That's a good point.
I don't like Cam Thomas. I really don't like Cam Thomas.
I think off the bench he'll be solid for you.
And watching last year's playoff series against Boston, I think that was more that showed more lack of coaching ability than it did any flaws in KD and Kyrie's game. Because there just wasn't any creation for them. And Steve Nash simply did not know how to run a single play to get them any sort of looks.
Well, also I can't fully put the blame when it comes to the coaching on Steve Nash because let's just face it, Kyrie and KD wanted him.
Yep.
So they have to take some responsibility for this. Because like if they come out and start bashing Steve Nash, then I got a problem. Because that's like you got no room to talk. Steve Nash, some players are just not meant to coach. I'm not trying to. Steve Nash is still
one of them.
Yeah, it's just one of them, and like he's still one of like my favorite players all time. Like most people love Steve Nash, right? Yeah. I don't think I've met many people that don't like Steve Nash. He's just not a good coach. Like this team could be easily a top 2 seed if they had a coach. You get them like a Nick Nurse, all of a sudden this team, the landscape of the East is completely different with this team.
Right.
But yeah, coaching is also a really main factor. But like they're gonna hover, I think, around that 4 or 5 seed right there, maybe a little bit higher.
Back to why I have him at 4. I love Joe Harris. They missed him so much last season.
Oh my God, absolutely.
He's one of the best 3-point shooters of all time based off of percentage. I like Patty Mills. He had a huge year for him last year. I'm excited to see him be able to take a step back this year because he had to play way more minutes, too many minutes. He had to do way more than he signed up for. So I'm excited to see him get into a position where he can chill. He can just be that bench punch because that's what he's going to be really good at. He wasn't good last year when they needed him as a second option. He had his moments, but then he flamed out, which is understandable for a career 6th man, 7th man type of guy. Now back in his natural role, I think he's going to have a great year.
I think he flourishes, when he gets back into what his role. We need to find what his role is. So he flourishes when
Seth Curry off the bench can give you 18 points a game, maybe.
That's true. I forgot about Seth. See, Seth Curry's going to be really nice.
I don't like Nick Claxton very much, but I'm willing to bite the bullet on him because I think Ben Simmons is going to take a lot of center minutes away. I love the idea of Kyrie, Joe Harris, Kevin Durant, Seth Curry, and Ben Simmons running a 5-man lineup together. I absolutely love that. And Steve Nash, although I don't like him as a coach, I think his methods, his plays are kind of bad because he does have that experience with that run and gun Phoenix offense. I think he's going to be more experimental in the type of lineups he puts out, especially now that he has someone like Ben Simmons to play with, which makes me think that we see a little bit less of Claxton and a little bit more of these 5 wild man rotations where we have Ben Simmons and KD running the 5 and the 4, which I'm super excited for. They could fall to 10. They could go up to 1. This team is crazy.
This team
is 4 is kind of a middle ground.
This team is interesting, and that, and also just the endless. I'm also very. Do you think what you have written here? Sorry, I'm just looking at what he has written. Do you think that's what's going to be? That's what you're projected. Do you think the actual rotation is the starters going to look like when the season starts?
Yeah. So I went a little bit off of what I thought it would be, and then I would confirm it with ESPN's depth charts for each team. They do have Kyrie, Joe Harris, KD, Ben Simmons, Claxton listed as the starting 5, which makes sense, at least for opening night.
I'm glad. I want Ben Simmons to play the power forward. Stop trying to play point guard and play power forward.
Yeah.
just come on, Benster. You're Benster. Come on, Benster. You're not the point guard. You are the quintessential power forward.
You are the
modern day power forward.
He is Draymond Green. If he can just be Draymond Green, except a juiced up Draymond Green. Yeah,
it's like just play the power forward role to a T. Stop trying to play point guard. That's where the problem lies because you're not very good offensively.
You know what's going to be a nightmare though? If they run this starting 5 in late games, because the hack of Ben Simmons and the hack of Claxton is going to be crazy. Those 2 guys that are going to shoot like 40% from the line, so that's going to be rough. But who is your number 4? You have the Cavs?
I have the Cleveland Cavaliers. I mean, like you said, you add Donovan Mitchell to a team that just made the play-in. Looked really solid, really nice team with some veterans. I mean, you got Love, and I don't know if we can consider LeVert. He's about 27, but he's getting up there. I mean, I like the fit not defensively between Darius Garland and Donovan Mitchell, but I think their front court makes up for that with Mobley, Allen, and Okoro. Yeah, and I mean Donovan Mitchell is just a stud, and Garland's a stud.
Donovan Mitchell has the athleticism to guard good guards.
Yeah, it's just this team is so young, it's fast, it's athletic, it's fast paced, it's fun, and it's so good on both sides of the ball, in my opinion. I mean, you section off the front court is scary defensively. I don't want to see that front court down there defensively. Offensively, between Garland and Mitchell, I mean, if I have to defend that, I'm trembling. Like, that's ridiculous. If I have to defend them both, because also Darius Garland is super fast, and his numbers are going to take a hit, obviously, because of Donovan Mitchell. But I mean, this team is becoming up there with the Raptors, and Warriors, when we talk about well put together teams, there's so much versatility, and there's so much everybody just complements each other so well,
right?
So I think I have to put them as a top 4 seed. They're going to hover in that same range, I think, with the Nets.
Yeah, I agree.
Right around there.
A lot of these teams, it's less of rankings and more of tiers. That's how I set it up. I was like, well, I know these 3 teams are.
We got our major title contenders. We got the people that are almost there.
And then you got 5 play-in.
Yeah, and then we got teams that are good enough to make it, but won't go much farther.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what we're going off of right now. All right.
On to our 3 seed.
Yeah, let's go top 3, baby.
We agree on this one. We got the Boston Celtics as our 3 seed.
Yeah, Boston Celtics.
I originally had them at 2, but then thinking about it more, I thought that Rob Williams being out was going to hurt them.
It does,
lot,
and also
so.
I think the main elephant in the room. There's two main elephants. One, the injuries and problems have already started. I mean, we already have like Rob Williams is not doing. We already lost Gallinari. God forbid we lose anybody else at this point. I mean, and then we're not going to talk much about the Ime Adoka situation. Matthew knows how I feel. I'm very disgusted right now with this man's, and I'm scared for what Matt Barnes has to say. But I think most people, even people probably not following the NBA, know about the story because Ime is married to like a pretty famous actress.
Right.
But I digress. So like we're already having coaching issues at this point. You know, we're already having injury issues. I still think, besides that, we're still a top 3 team in this league. Defensively, I mean, we've added Brogdon, who's a really nice piece. You know, that was the person I really wanted the most this offseason, and he was speculated the most, and we got him. Blake Griffin is, I mean, to replace Gallinari, I would have loved to have Gallinari, you know, that offensive punch off the bench. But, I mean, like you were telling me, Blake Griffin, the defense and the hustle, I think, fits really well with this team, and it's really going to be – he's really going to mesh, I think, really well off the bench with this team. Derek White and Peyton Pritchard still on this team. Al Horford, Grant Williams. I'm starting to kind of come around. I can't help but kind of come around to him. Gotta love.
Yeah, because he played so well in the finals.
Yeah, so
he was garbage.
Look, hear me out. He was fine until the final.
Yeah,
he was fine until.
I don't know about that. He wasn't very good against the Heat either.
I mean. Yeah, my man. There were times where my man was out there trying to play like Curry.
Yeah,
I mean he was just splashing threes. I'm like, what are you doing, Grant Williams? Like, what are you doing?
This Celtics team within the first month of the season is going to be huge for them because even when they have Brad Stevens, who is one of the best basketball minds there is right now, if this team starts off poorly, if they go on like a 4 or 5 game losing streak, who in the locker room now is going to be like, dude, Marcus Smart, chill out. Stop yelling at Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum.
Yeah, exactly.
Because last year, clearly, Ime Udoka had a really good handle on these guys. And I don't know if the assistant coach who they promoted to head coach for the time being, at least, will warrant that same respect from guys like Marcus Smart.
Brad Stevens should just step back in.
Well, I mean,
do both.
They didn't even listen to him at times.
Yeah, I know.
I'm just worried that if something goes wrong, if someone's upset about something, namely Marcus Smart, that something could
It seems
explode.
to be he's the one that's going to be upset about something.
If they don't, because they're not going to have the same leadership, they're probably not going to have the same respect for this new.
It's not the same structure as a team that just come off the finals. Probably, unfortunately, the problems probably will bar us from making the finals again.
I'm not even as worried about that as I am just if something goes wrong. I don't think they have anyone there who's as respected as Udoka was to say, dude, Marcus Smart, you really don't want to get Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown back because those are the franchise dudes.
To be fair, though, he didn't get the madness. He called them out and then it made a huge difference. But I mean,
I'm just afraid because
there's no structure. I get what you're saying. There's no structure and there's no real.
The gloves are going to be off with Marcus Smart this year. I'm afraid if something goes wrong because there's not going to really be anyone there to hold him back. So don't be surprised.
Is that Marcus Smart or Pat Bev?
So don't be surprised if in this first couple of months of the season, if the Celtics go on like a 4 or 5 game losing streak. And there's a 5-page athletic article about Marcus Smart breaking the locker room. I'm just saying. I'm throwing that out there. That's my prediction for this season.
Yeah, it's just this team is my boys. There's a lot of question marks this season, so we're gonna see. I think I agree that first month is gonna be very crucial to set the tone.
But do you agree with what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, to an extent, I get. Yeah, Marcus Smart is a loudmouth, and if something goes wrong, and he voices, there's no one keeping him between Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum and just completely obliterating team chemistry. But
let's just pray for that. Let's just pray that now because they have Malcolm Brogdon.
Maybe Malcolm Brogdon can be the voice of reason.
That is true. His nickname is the president. And I've mentioned all the bad things about this roster, which there aren't that many as far as construction goes. You still got Derek White. Now you got Brogdon, Smart, Brown, Tatum, Horford.
I mean, Brogdon's big issue is if he can stay healthy. That's really all I'm worried about with Brogdon at this point.
Right.
And Horford's my man. So I'm not going to criticize
But
Horford.
This team is deep. This team is scary. This team just needs the right guidance. And it's going to be able
still, talent-wise, easily a top 3 seed still.
Yep.
We can't argue that, even though I am biased. a little bit biased, but yeah, I agree with you. Celtics at 3.
On to the number 2 seed. Who you got?
Yeah, you're gonna hate this. Let's just get it out the way. I got the Miami Heat.
I hate it.
And again, it's not because I think they are a better team necessarily. I think they're still a good team. It's the Jimmy Butler and Bam and Lowry are still going to be good enough. If they play, barring they play enough of the games, they're still going to be good enough to propel this team to a top 3 seed record-wise. Again, I don't know how big a fan you are, but I'm going more record-wise based than off team-wise. than how, because I don't think the Heat are better than a couple of these teams, but I just think they're consistently up there in the top three seed coaching wise. It not many coaches better than Eric Spoelstra,
Right.
in the league, been around tenured this long, and they still got pieces. I mean, Gabe Vincent and Gabe Vincent's shown things at times. Oladipo when healthy is really nice. It's a really nice piece for them. Not super high on Caleb Martin, but he's fine at that power forward spot. That power forward spot's really has been weak for them for a little bit. I think Duncan gets back.
I disagree. Jay Crowder and PJ Tucker are basically the perfect stretch four for a tough defensive team, and that was their power forwards the last 2 years.
Yeah, I mean,
and they had proven throughout their careers.
I mean more weak as in comparison to the rest of the starting five, not necessarily that is just it sucked as in comparison to the starting five. Okay. I should have clarified that. I just mean that's kind of been their weakest position, because I mean PJ Tucker is not on the level of Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo, even though you're a little
right.
You think Bam's overrated, but we can both agree on that. You know
right,
what I mean?
I see what you're saying.
The Heat can always win games. They can always pull games out of their butt, and I'm not going to put them at one because I do think that'd be kind of wild. Two is about as far as I can give them. I don't think they repeat as the one seed. Could they? Maybe that'd be funny if they did, wouldn't it? If they're above the Bucks and the Sixers and it's just above them again, you know what I mean?
Right.
But I'm not saying this is a better team. All I'm saying is record-wise, this team seems to always be a top three team when it comes to wins.
Yeah, I just can't. I know.
Well, we're coming again from two different aspects. You're coming from actual talent and what the teams are, but I'm thinking this is really what's going to happen. These teams are going to have issues. The Sixers are going to have issues, like I mentioned. I kind of laid them out for you, and the Heat are just going to kind of coast all the way into a top three seed. Have home court advantage.
They're just going to watch everybody else crash and burn
because they're good. We're not arguing that they're good. There's definitely some holes, and they're definitely aging. With Lowry and Butler alone.
But how much longer can they just keep finding Max Struess's,
at least, Martins. In my opinion, this year, and then next year it might crumble a little bit. But this year, I don't see much difference than last year. Sorry.
We'll see what happens. That's an interesting one.
What's going to be funny is if at the end of the season I'm right, and they're like 3 or 3 or 2. They're just right there, and then I'm gonna look at you I told you, not because I necessarily agree, but because it's just bound to happen. It's just bound to happen.
We'll see. On to our number 2s. I have the Milwaukee Bucks, and just Giannis said in a conference the other day, press conference, he was like, "We don't really care what seed we get." But just because of how good they are with Middleton, with Drew Holiday, this is the best team in the NBA, I think.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't get injured, they win the championship last year.
Yeah, they're a team that's so good they don't have to care about seed.
Yeah.
They're just one of those
Giannis,
teams.
Middleton, Drew Holiday, Grayson Allen has been a fine shooting guard for him. Mm-hmm. Brook Lopez is a great defensive player. Bobby Portis, Javion Carter is a great defender. Pat Connaughton, Thanasis is tenacious. And then if Serge can be healthy for a year, that would be helpful. But that starting five is just crazy. Any shooting around Giannis is just the perfect lineup. Mm-hmm. I love Drew Holiday. I said he's a top 25 player, and I will stand by it.
See, I don't hate that. Yeah, I just personally think he's a bit lower. But
right. I just think the Bucks are gonna pull out the number 2 seed again. They're constantly around there. I have no reason to say they won't be again this year.
Again, they're just I'm just gonna say they're my number 1 because they're the team I haven't mentioned easily. To me, they're the number 1 seed. They're just kind of like what I said about the Warriors. So well put together, and I mean, I'm not gonna try to compare Budenholzer to Kerr, but Budenholzer's kind of redeemed himself in my eyes from his Atlanta days. From what I saw in his Atlanta days.
Rough. Some rough Atlanta days.
I mean, they consistently were making the play, but they weren't they were plateaued after the first year of his coach. But anyways, I mean, this team is just it's like the Warriors. If you put the Warriors at the 6th seed, they still make a playoff push. You put Giannis at the 5th seed, he still goes into someone's court, and that team obliterates them and goes far in the playoffs. Yep. This team is always gonna succeed. It's just built to win and succeed. I mean, they didn't get there this year, but what's to say, with the troubles the Celtics might have, they can't do it. They can't do it this year again. Who's to say we can't have Warriors Bucks this year? You know what I mean? I don't have much else to say. Really well put together team. They play really well. Team chemistry is really good. So yeah, Bucks are my number 1. I think they have the best record in the East.
So this is going to be a fun place to end it here because the ball is in my court.
Yeah, give me your counter argument. I want to hear it.
So my number one seed, their team, everyone's probably noticed I haven't mentioned, a team we've already discussed, the Indiana Pacers.
Yes, facts. Miles Turner is going to go off.
So my number one seed is the Philadelphia 76ers. Shout out Mr. Mercer.
Again, don't think I hate this. It's just like I disagree. But I want to hear what you have to say.
And here's why. Dude, I love PJ Tucker so much.
I know you do.
I watched how he defended Kevin Durant in that Bucks series. I watched how he out-hustled everybody in the Miami series versus Philadelphia last year. He is one of my favorite players in the league because he doesn't give up on defense. He is going to challenge Harden. He's going to challenge Max. He's going to challenge Embiid. And he is someone that, because even though he's never been a star, he's someone that everybody just seems to respect because they know his body of work. They know that he can clamp the best players in the league consistently. And he's going to give him the corner shot. He's going to open up a whole new dimension, I think, on the court.
You don't think he regresses in that regard? Because, he's like 36. Like, you don't think there's at least a little bit of regression when it comes to that hustle?
The hustle never leaves, but baby. The hustle never goes.
I mean, for a 36-year-old, injuries start to pile up. Yeah, it'll start to leave.
No, I have faith in PJ.
I mean, that's kind of his whole identity, though. So, like what is PJ Tucker without that? He's just a great defender, a hustler.
Well, until he shows me that he doesn't have it, I'm going to have to assume he has it.
That's fair. I'm just
on to the stars, on to the top guys. Max, he should only be getting better. James Harden I'll get to last.
Toby Harris, who I'm actually kind of high on.
I like Tobias Harris.
Tobias Harris is good. I think
he can still score. Trez off the bench. I like that. He's not going to give you a whole lot of defense.
I don't personally.
He gives you a punch off the bench.
I don't want to say he's washed at this point, but I'm not. I don't have. 3 years ago, I loved Trez, you know, but like now I'm just, and also he's had problems off the court too.
This is true.
I'm actually surprised he playing. Do I like this fit more than other teams it could have gone to? Absolutely.
Do you like this more than DeAndre Jordan, who is picking up the center?
Of course, yes, I do like this much more than DeAndre Jordan.
Now I'll just jump to Harden. I think all of NBA Twitter basically has been predicting this. I am predicting it as well. I've never been as low on Harden as some other people have been. He's not going to win it because even if the Sixers finish number one.
You want to say most improved? You think he's going to get most improved player?
I'm talking about MVP.
Whoa.
He's not going to win it because
that's bold, and I like it.
Because if the Sixers do finish number one and they're heads and shoulders above everybody else, there are already enough people in the media who think Embiid has been snubbed. So if they are neck and neck and Harden's having those MVP numbers, yes, the votes are going to go to Embiid. So would I bet on Harden winning the MVP? No. Would I bet on Harden having an absolute amazing season where he puts up MVP numbers? 100%. Yes.
I like the boldness.
Harden has lost so much weight over the offseason. He looks good. He looks healthy. He looks fit. He is going to show so many people that he's still one of the best players in the league this season. I feel it coming. I don't know why I like James Harden so much. I never have. But something about him in Philly with Embiid, I am super high on this prospect. A full season of it together. I think we see prime Harden and prime Embiid. I think they take over the East, and I think they finish number one this year.
I like
the only thing holding them back is Doc Rivers.
Hey, man's won a chip, so calm down.
Yeah, but he was just gifted Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, and Rajon Rondo.
You shut your mouth, you blasphemer. But no, I like the fit of James Harden and Embiid, but if you're really expecting him to come out looking like MVP James Harden, you're sadly mistaken. Because even he wasn't super efficient. Now he's even more inefficient. And again, I told you, he's not going to get to the line. That gave him probably 10, 12 points a game simply off that drawing fouls.
Just trust.
Look, I get he's a Hall of Fame shapeshifter, but geez, man, I'm telling you, he's going to look fantastic in games, and then there's going to be games where he goes 1 for 22. Efficiency's bad. Maxi's going to have to carry the load or somebody.
I don't see it happening this year.
I disagree, but I do respect the boldness of this take.
Just you wait, Nathan, until the 76ers are the number one seed. This is the one ranking I think I feel most confident about.
See, I feel most confident about Warriors and Bucks. You're talking about Sixers. Yeah, I disagree. I'm sorry. Like if it happens, cool. I just don't see it realistically happening. I see something. I see something, a roadblock just appearing in their path and completely destroying the record. I just do.
Well, we'll see what happens. Only time will tell. And I think that's a good place to call it there. A lot of good debate in this one.
I think this was a good one.
I'm excited to see how these rankings turn out.
Excited to see Matthew get dumped with ice water.
So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time on the Debate Mates.
Bye, guys.